Divorce and death, two dire subjects that most people dread. Why would I write a book about that? My name is Laura Hurd, and I wrote a book that combined both subjects. It's called Divorce and Estate Planning in Texas, How to Plan Ahead for the Unexpected and Save Your Family's Future. Because for more than 3 decades, I have practiced law in San Antonio, Texas, and have done both probate law, which is your inheritance law, and divorce law, family law, suits affecting children. And I have noticed there's a great deal of overlap between the two. I have done divorces in probate court, in guardianship cases, and I've seen people die in the middle of divorce cases. And I have seen people who didn't write their wills in mind of a divorce, and I've seen people fight in both probate court and in divorce court over whether a common law marriage is valid. And so I decided to write this book to help your common everyday people because, you know, everybody's going to die someday. This is the 2 areas of law that are most likely to affect most people. We all hope that our death will be sometime way off in the future, but you never know. There are people who die in car accidents that aren't their fault every day. There's people who die of heart attacks and people who are victims of random shootings. They didn't plan on dying that day. So you never know. And by planning ahead, you can save your family and the loved ones that you leave behind so much hassle and so much expense and heartbreak just by a little bit of planning ahead. You know, this book talks about a lot of different aspects of family law and probate law. We start out talking about options for divorce in Texas and the division of assets and debts in divorce and how child custody is determined and child support. And yet sometimes child support ends up as an issue in probate court. And of course, the division of assets and debts, but even child custody can be an issue in probate court. We talk about the impact of divorce on estate planning documents and what estate planning documents married couples should have in place and how you should deal with blended families when you're doing your estate planning. Do divorcing couples forget to address their estate planning documents? Yes, oftentimes they do. And the dilemma of securing digital assets. Does your will address your passwords? And do you have a social media account out there somewhere that you might want to have shut down if you had died? With a little bit of planning ahead, you can make sure that those things happen to avoid embarrassment and friction among your family members. My book talks about wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and some other documents you might not have thought about. We talk about what do you do with your pets, and what about frozen embryos in divorce and in death. And I also address grandparents' rights, guardianships and conservatorships, and the difference between the two. What happens if you fail to plan, and what you should talk to your attorney about, and what you can do without an attorney to plan ahead. So this book has a little bit of something for everybody. It's not a do-it-yourself manual. It's not a substitute for seeing an attorney because everybody's situation is a little bit different. But it is a starting point. It is written in language that everybody understands so that you have a basis for knowing what questions to ask and so that you can understand what your attorney is telling you and you can evaluate what they tell you because of the basis that you have learned in this book. I have written it in language that everyone can understand, but I also have a glossary of terms in the back to tell you about some legal terms you may run across that you don't normally hear in everyday conversation. Things like inter vivos trust, letters testamentary, muniments of title, and so forth. These are words that most people don't know, and so I have them defined in the back of the book for you. And so I hope that you'll read this book and then you'll visit my website and tell me what you think, and tell me if I didn't explain something well enough or if there's something else that you would like me to write about. I look forward to hearing from you soon.